everybody, it's Mr. Jason here from Bend, Oregon Fagans. Welcome to Class 300. Today we're going to be doing a razor faded pompadour, sans the razor part because it is a doll head, so we can't use a razor quite on a doll head, but we're going to give you the idea and demonstrate for this for you today. Welcome to my class. You can pan around, take a look and say hi everybody.
Hi.
As you can tell, everyone is super excited to be in this class today. So yes, one of the fantastic haircuts you're going to see that comes in on a regular basis. It's very trendy, very classic, very clean. It suits to a lot of people's tastes, and a lot of men really, really like this haircut. So we're going to demonstrate that for you today. Okay, so first bit aim, of course, after we have now gone through and wet the hair down and gotten rid of any snarls and tangles that we have, is that we want to find which direction the client wants their hair to be. In a classic pompadour style, that hair is going to usually come up. We're going to have that long swoop where we kind of extend that forehead up. It gets that lift or that volume, kind of like Megan's sporting right over here. Megan, say hello. See, she got that long, high, and heavy hair up there. We can do that with a lot of our male clients as well. What more guys are wearing nowadays is more we think of like the Gatsby style, where they're having that swoop up front, then it kind of lays to one side, and then we go in and we might put in a hard part or something along that lines to really accentuate that line between those two pieces. Depending on what a client's preference is, it's all going to be cut very similar on the side, all the way until we reach the top, depending on what a client wants. So we want to find out what a client's preference would be at that point to start out. So we're going to cut using that kind of as our baseline, is that baseline part. Okay? So first thing we want to start out with then, we're going to go ahead and kind of make that hair kind of go that direction. We distribute that hair where we want it to be at. We're going to come through on the side, and we're going to adjust from our interior section onto our crest line. All right, and I'm going to be working with a slightly smaller style clipper comb, not our Andis style clipper combs that have the wider edges on them. Thank you. Not our Andis clipper comb that has the wider edge, because I want to be working with a smaller portion. Difference is that when I'm working with an Andis clipper comb, I have that distance to use, and I make sure that as my clipper runs across that comb, no piece of my clipper is going to come on either side of the clipper comb, which is why this is used for safety. On this portion, I'm going to be using a smaller clipper comb because I'm looking at making a smaller guide to start out with. So I have to watch where my clipper position is because I might have a piece that could roll either on the top or on the bottom. And if I'm not careful, I could cut a gouge or a hole. So I'm going to start by creating a baseline slightly over the top of the ear. And I'm going to be taking this down, since I'm going to be bringing this down to the skin, I'm going to run with this clipper comb right smack up against the side of the head, so there's no portion of this comb that's going to be coming off of the head at that point. Might not necessarily want to cut through that hair as thick and as evenly or as easily. I'm going to start this by doing this on the right side. I'm then going to switch. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. Okay, so now we've done both sides. We've knocked that down just over the ear. Now this next point we have to think about, again, comes down to a client preference. And we've heard the term drop fade before. You guys heard the term drop fade? Okay. Where the term drop fade comes from is typically you take the fade and then it drops down at an angle either below the occipital or down to a really low point on the neck. It's not right or wrong either way. It comes down to a client preference as to where they want that shortness or that transparency really to begin at. So if they want to have that on a drop line, this is the point where we'll start taking and we're going to start angling our comb back to bring that piece down, up, and underneath the occipital, depending upon where they want that weight bit to be. Okay? For Jorge, Mr. George here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop it down just slightly to underneath the occipital side. We'll do just like we did before. We'll do one side, then we'll stop, bring our hair length on the top over so we're not cutting into that length to be able to do our pompadour style, and then we're going to do the other side. You'll notice I'm intentionally leaving the length on the bottom side down here. Reason for that is we want to think about time and saving time when we're in the shop or salon environment. Going through and coming through and cutting this hair out now can do one of two things. A lot of people like to snap like a clipper blade or clipper guard size on, and they would run through and knock the length off at time. What that can do if you're not paying attention is you can take it too far and you lose your ability to be able to bring your drop fade, and then you end up chasing a line that you create further up the head. By going through and making sure we create our baseline to start out with and then blending up to that point, it eliminates the factor of going through and taking it too high and stopping us from having the fade as low as we want, or from taking off too much hair and cutting into the integrity of our top side and not being able to have that pompadour style on the top. Okay, so we've now gone through and we've created our drop line and our baseline all the way around both sides of the head. So now what we're going to do is we're going to carve in the area where we would be doing our razor fade. For us, we're going to be doing this down to a 000 length because it's a doll head and the razor isn't going to quite work, but we're still going to be able to get the illusion of that really, really short length of hair. So we're going to come through, and depending upon where a client wants their fade to begin and be at, we're going to make sure that we drop our line below that piece so that we have room to be able to blend out our hard line that we're creating. So we're going to just drop this in because I want this fade to be lower, and I'm going to take this just in again above the ear, and I'm going to follow that all the way around that drop section to the middle of the back of the head. And then we're going to come through, we're going to flip our clippers around, and we're going to take off the hair up to our drop section. Okay, so we have gone through now and we've put in our hard line, so we have the area where we would be doing our razor fade. That drops all the way up and around the edge on both sides. What we want to do from this point before we move on much further is we want to check for symmetry, making sure that we are in roughly the same place on both sides. Okay, now since we are using a doll head, we're going to simulate if we would be doing a shave, so we would come through at this point, and yes, we have not gone through and taken out this line yet. We're going to leave that because at this point we would be applying our shaving cream, and we would go ahead and use a straight razor and we would clean all this down, which would get that down nice and close to the skin. Because we can't do that on George, we're going to go ahead and use our outline trimmers, or our pivot trimmers, or our peanut trimmer, or our T-finishers, whatever you want to call them. It's that outline trimmer because it's going to get it down about as close to the head as we can get with the tools that we have available to us at this present time. Everybody's going to go through, and we want to get all that hair right in that same area, as down as close to the skin as we possibly can. At this point, now we've gotten this all down as our simulated razor. Now we're going to go through and we're going to get rid of this weight line, and we're going to do that by alternating by using a clipper guard, a #1 clipper guard, by using a freehand blade, and by using clip over comb work in through this baseline section. Now we're going to start out with our clipper guard in the #1 position with our clipper guards completely open to give us the effect of a 1.5 size blade. We're going to make sure we swing up and around that ear. Do not let that clipper guard, that clipper blade, come up flush with the head, or we'll end up taking a big chunk or section out of that corner. So we're just going to kind of keep working on past, just up and we're going to come back with that clipper in the #1 position, slightly angle. Our client's head to a more suitable angle to see, and we're going to now work past that wide section in that #1 position. Move our clipper into our 000 position. Then we're going to move now and we're going to put our clipper guard back in with it in that 000 position, and we're just past where we were at. And we're going to just keep alternating back and forth between open freehand clipper with no guard in our garden over comb work until we've gotten that line. We've gotten now